Roy Hodgson brings his Crystal Palace to the London Stadium to face West Ham, who come off back-to-back victories for the first time in a couple of years. It's going to be an interesting game. Still, Crystal Palace, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think out of Newcastle, Cardiff, this is going to be the hardest test of those three. I thought for the Newcastle game we were going to be tested, and it didn't materialise. I don't think any of us really worried about Cardiff, even though there was a bit of apprehension. I think generally we thought it was going to be in the bag. But Palace, they tend to do all right against us, and I think it's going to be a bit of a test for us on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you still. Now let's rewind back to a few games ago when all the West Ham fans were talking about this run-in, next 10 games of the last games of 2018 before we hit the new year. And there's winnable games in there. Now we've got, what, 10 points out of the last 5 games?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that return from,
It's been excellent. I mean, we've won 2 on the trot finally. As you said, it's taken us a couple of years to get there. But I think well deserved as well, scoring 6 goals, having 1 goal that shouldn't have been allowed against us on Tuesday night. So it's been a good return. We're scoring, we're creating a hell of a lot of chances, which is really, really good to see. That's typical Pellegrini. Everyone's always said Pellegrini's an attack-minded manager, and he's proving that. So the return has been fantastic, and I think we can continue it. I just think it's going to be a lot harder on Saturday. I actually don't think we'll lose on Saturday, but I just think it's just going to be, we're going to need to put those chances away. I think we missed an awful lot of chances. Arnie's not been on fire, now he's out injured. So we just need someone that's going to put those chances away, and I think we're going to need him on Saturday.
Yeah. With positives come negatives, with negatives come positives. Arnautovic is missing for the next month, unfortunately, with a hamstring injury. But the positive to come from that is in the last 2 games, our 2 strikers, Hernandez and Perez, have both scored a brace, which is good news considering they're both going to get game time still. The last couple of weeks we've been in a formation of 4-4-2, playing 2 up top, giving the support to the front men. How do you see, now that Arnautovic is injured, that this is going to take place moving into the Crystal Palace game?
I don't think it will change, because I don't think I think we're going to need to be in a position to create Palace as many problems as they're likely to create for us. So I don't actually think the formation will change. I think it will just be a matter of who Pellegrini decides to replace Arnautovic with. And he's got a couple of options, isn't he? He's got. I think Hernandez will start, and I think it's a question of whether Perez will start alongside him, whether Antonio starts alongside him, or whether Carroll starts. It's nice to have that option, but I actually don't think. I think we're going to need our 2 banks of 4, and I think they're going to have to. The wings are going to have to work really hard on Saturday, because they've got a few players that can really cause us problems down the wings. I'm actually hoping, I don't know what state Creswell's in, I'm really, really hoping that he will be available for Saturday's game.
Yeah. I think if you read into Pellegrini's press conference today, he does kind of allude a little bit to the fact that Perez might start the game this weekend. Probably seen 2 strikers potentially on some form of form. I mean, 4 goals in 2 games between the 2 strikers. Got to take that, and maybe they could form some form of partnership. Especially if the West Ham midfield are creating opportunities, because we all know, we all seen Newcastle game and seen the opportunities that were created from a man who's on for now, Anderson. And moving into the Cardiff game, albeit we didn't have the greatest of first halves, the second half we came out and got the job done, which was really important still. I mean, for me, that was probably the Cardiff game. I know it's game by game, but the old of West Ham, would have gone into that game completely naive, completely cocky, and just tried to expect to win and probably lost the game. But to come out of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first half, the first 15, 20 minutes we did all right, and then we just sort of fell away and gave them an opportunity to get into the game. And at half time, when it was 0-0, I think we were all just sort of standing there going, same old West Ham again. We just had a great result against Newcastle, and we're gonna mess it all up against Cardiff at home. But we came out storming in the second half, and all credit to the team, because we're on the front foot right from the start of the second half, and we didn't take our foot off the pedal. So it was good to see. It was a different kind of dynamic to what we've become accustomed to as West Ham fans.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That sort of complacency. I'm not sure if there was complacency in the first half. I just don't think we were trying hard enough. Maybe that is complacency. I don't know.
Before we come back to West Ham, let's jump on to Roy Hodgson's Crystal Palace. I can't help it but say why. It's just ingrained in everyone's...
The way you talk anyway.
It is up here, yeah. We've got a little bit of a stutter and issues up there. So anyway, what we do know is Chick Kouyaté, former West Ham player, James Tompkins, former West Ham player, will be playing. And the last time we played Crystal Palace, James Tompkins seemed to be really up for it. I do remember, I mean, he's probably the defender, in my opinion, we should never have let go, especially at the price we did let him go for. And then we've come up against Chick Kouyaté as well. I mean, what do you think? I mean, are they giving the rest of the Crystal Palace squad some intel on West Ham and how they perform at the London Stadium?
Probably. I mean, they're going to want to both. Kouyaté be his first competitive game back at the stadium. We'll have a point to prove against us game. He'll have a point to prove, and I bet he'll be right up for it. And Tompkins, as you say, is also he's a West Ham boy, but he's also he'll also want to prove a point that he shouldn't have been sold, I guess.
Yeah. What we do know is there's some players that are injured for Crystal Palace, Benteke, Dan, but they've got a few players that are on form, and one player that's tricky that West Ham fans know, and the whole Premier League knows, especially for his diving scores when he competes at the Olympics, is Wilfried Zaha. How do we keep him under wraps on Saturday?
Well, you see how easy that penalty on against us against Cardiff was such a soft penalty. I mean, if we have a similar ref, the minute Zaha goes down, he'll be looking for a penalty as well. And it's a shame to, Zaha's a really talented player, and it's such a shame to pick on the negatives of him being, almost needing to cheat to sort of to get a goal. He has a tendency to go down quite easily. He is a tricky player. He's going to give Zabaleta a tough time on Saturday, which is why I'm thinking we need the two banks of four, as I said, because our right backs and left back are going to need support to sort of manage the likes of Zaha, and on the other side to manage the likes of Townsend. They're both tricky players. They're both skillful players.
We just got to. I mean, those are the sort of players that we're trying to look to exploit, those wings, especially the fact that I think Zabaleta's had a great season for West Ham. One of his downsides last year was that he was performing so much they had no protection behind them, and I think Zaha and Townsend will be looking at those two wing back positions and right, these are and even like you said, still we'll come back onto West Ham in a minute. But if Masuaku does play in that position, if Criswell isn't fit, they'll be looking at that as a weakness, and they'll be down that flank, left, right, and centre all day.
Absolutely, I'm afraid they will be. And Townsend is the type of player that can really Townsend likes cutting in. Yeah. Which means he'll end up dragging Masuaku in with him, and that'll leave a massive space behind. Which means that Anderson, if he's going to play out on the left, which we expect him to do so, is going to have to drop back and fill that void. That's why it's going to be a tricky game, because they've got some good front players, and they've got a decent midfield as well. They've got, depends on who they pick. They've got Ayew there, as you've mentioned, Kouyaté. There's Sakho. They've got quite a selection of players that could cause us problems. And but I think it's the wings that they're gonna cause us most problems in. You're absolutely right. They're going to exploit us down both the right and the left-hand side.
Last time out for Crystal Palace, though, they didn't have a great result. They got beat 3-1 from Brighton. I and it looks like there was maybe a bit of issues internally. Zaha was quite public on social media how he was angry, but he is like that generically. Do you think that's something that West Ham can take into this game? That they come off a terrible result against Brighton and maybe get at them?
Yeah, if we get at them, if we don't give them an opportunity to play, and if we're in their faces, people like Zaha won't like that. And that might get their backs up a little bit and will stop them from playing. But we're not a physical team, so we've got to kind of outplay them. But we can take some solace from that. The fact that they've lost 3-1 against 10 men as well. But they're going to have a point to prove. They're going to want to sort of bounce back from that. So they can be, a bit dangerous. They might be dangerous because of that. But I think what it shows is our attacking lineup can exploit them. So the likes of Anderson. I mean, he's been on fire, hasn't he? The last few games. The likes of Anderson. You've got Hernandez being supported up front. Snodgrass is really coming into his into some of the best footballers played for West Ham.
Who would have thought of that?
And who? Not me. I certainly wouldn't have done. So I think we're going to have to outplay them. And I know people are going to go, well, hang on a minute, it's only Palace, but they've got some classy players, and we're going to have to just perform better than them on Saturday, because they can hurt us, definitely.
There was a reason why I'm sitting doing the job I do and I'm not Manuel Pellegrini, because for me, when we spoke about last preview game, I'd suggested that we need to really go into the Cardiff game thinking forward and thinking we need to take this serious, we need to play our best strength team. But I'm also aware that players like Zabaleta need to be rested. I know he doesn't have the legs for the amount of games we've got coming up. And we've seen the changes take place in the defence against Cardiff City. We've seen Ogbonna, Masuaku and Antonio come in place. What we do know is it looks like Balbuena will be back fit. Is that a no-brainer that he steps back into that position?
Yeah, we're going to need our strongest back four on Saturday, which is, with the greatest of respect to Masuaku, which is why I'm hoping that Creswell is fit, because it will be Zabaleta, Diop, Balbuena, and Creswell if Creswell is available. Yeah. That's our best back four that we've got at the moment, mate. And,
but the positives to take from the game at the week in midweek there was the players that weren't regularly playing got some game time and got game time in a victory as well, which is really important. So players like Perez are going to benefit from that. Players like Ogbonna, Masuaku, and even Antonio. And what I found really interesting was after Antonio scored a goal and then we won the game, he went on his social media account and he put a picture of himself in the Incredible Hulk mask and he put an image of his face on it and he said Beast Mode Unleashed, and under it was a comment from Arnautovic saying, "I told you fella, that was your best position," which, coming back from a West Ham fan, thinking back a couple of years ago when Bilic tried Antonio in the right back position and it really didn't work out that well. I'd be intrigued to know what they're thinking there. Is this going to be a...
I wonder,
I mean,
I do think Zabaleta will start on Saturday, but if Antonio doesn't start, I wonder if maybe Antonio will come on and support Zabaleta on that right flank if we're struggling, and as much as what you just made me think, there could be a few changes on Saturday. There's a possibility that he might pull Snodgrass into the middle to fill the Arnie role, start Antonio out on the right to support Zabaleta, and maybe not necessarily play two up front. That's a possibility, but it's I literally just as you were talking, I just wondered if that might be the case.
Still, you've got some recent stats, don't you, from the Crystal Palace West Ham games? Was it the last 10 meetings? Is it?
I do. Interesting. In the last 10 games that we've played, we've won 4, drawn 3, lost 3. But the 4 that we've won, 3 of those have been away from home. And I didn't know that until I did that little piece of research. I was really quite surprised. That's slight concern. I think we drew our last 2 games last season. both home and away. So the last game that we beat them at home was when Carroll scored that wonder goal. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in that game there was a couple of other great goals, but the Andy Carroll wonder goal was going to always take the limelight.
Lanzini, yeah, the Lanzini goal was an excellent goal as well. So our past performances against them have been quite sort of equal, really, and yet they have the slight upper hand against us at home over the last 10 games. So it's going to be tricky, mate. It's going to be
what we do know is Carroll is in and around the squad. I don't think he's going to start, but I think we'll see him. I think we'll see him a little bit more this week. He came unscathed from a subs appearance against Cardiff, so I think we'll get to see a little bit more of him. Jack Wilshere's missing for this game. Pellegrini said in his statement today in his press conference that he reckons that he might just miss one game, but they're not 100% too sure what the issue is. I'll just really hope for his, you don't want to wish injuries upon players, but for his career, that it is only one game, because you just don't want it to fall into that 3 months later, 4 months later, 5 months later, which we're so used to now as a West Ham fan with injuries. Still, we've pretty much covered roughly who we think will start. We think it will go back to pretty much the same team within reason, albeit that Arnautovic won't play that we started with at Newcastle. Potentially a few changes. Perez maybe up top with Hernandez, or maybe like you said, maybe just go with one up top, bring Antonio in on the right to support Zabaleta. But let's just get straight into nitty gritty. What are your predictions for Saturday?
It's a tough one, this one, because I really want to say it's going to be another win, third win on the trot since December 2016, if we do it. 2-1 West Ham, just. Yeah,
I really want to see. I've been Perez one of his biggest critics, and he's not even had much game time, to be honest. But what was exciting was his 2 goals were good, and he found himself in really good space for the goals. And I know he didn't really do much, particularly when he first came on, but to get 2 goals, you're breeding confidence. Albeit people will say it's against Cardiff City, it doesn't really matter. 2 goals at home in front of the crowd. Hernandez 2 goals away from home against Newcastle. I'm quite excited to see if these 2 guys can really form a bit of a partnership, because we're going to need them. We're going to need all these forward guys moving into the next 7 games-ish that we've got that we're potentially going to miss Arnautovic for. And we've seen the form that he hits when it comes to Christmas period. He's usually in form over this stage, so it's such a big blow to West Ham. So I'm really excited to see that.
I honestly, he is going to be a miss, but we've all been sort of saying it for the last few weeks. He's not been firing on all cylinders, and perhaps in a way, this, as you just said, this does give an opportunity to another player to prove what they can do. Andy Carroll. I'm not, my feelings on Carroll. I'm not his biggest fan, but he's come back at the right time. And Perez scoring 2 goals, as you said, is going to give him an awful lot of confidence. So we've got cover there. You don't want to rely so much on Andy Carroll, but you can't believe you're saying it to yourself. But now that Arnautovic is injured, you're thanking the gods I'm not going to say
that he's in the squad.
I mean, we were bantering in our chat, about who might start, and I sort of said, of all the players, I'd rather see Perez start because he's a proper, he's more of a natural goal, striker, rather than Carroll. I don't know. A lot of people will want. I mean, the cheer he got when he came on. I get it, because he can produce something quite extraordinary. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather it was Perez on. If we're going to play 2 up front, I'd rather it was Perez on Saturday.
So you've gone for a 2-1 victory. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory at home. I'm going to go for a 3rd consecutive game scoring 3 goals. I do think we'll concede.
Okay.
I think what the confidence boost is the fact that we've only conceded 1 in the last 2, and it was a crappy goal to concede.
And it was a dodgy one to concede. It shouldn't have been allowed.
No. So a 3-1 victory for me, 2-1 victory for you, and it would be, hopefully, touch wood, first time we've got 3 victories in a row since, what did you say, 2016 still?
December 2016.
But what a great opportunity for West Ham, and I'm really hoping that this Pellegrini, this is the kind of, I don't want to get carried away, I'm not going to get cocky, but it's nice to be able to, in a situation we've won the last 2 games. And these next run of games, again, I don't know how many times we can say this in every single preview, are so important, and let's just take each game as it comes. To get a victory on Saturday with results going right for West Ham really catapults us up that league and really creates a bit of distance from relegation teams, which is something we're desperate to do. So, you know, there could be a turnaround in our season. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. Still, any other last points you want to make before we go?
No, not really. Let's just it'd just be interesting to see what selection he makes, Pellegrini.
Yep, absolutely. Do you agree with what we're saying, guys? If you do, get the comments in below. If you don't, get the comments in below. Do you think that Perez will start? Let us know in the comments below. What impact will Arnautovic have by not playing? And will it have a negative effect on the team? What do you think the predictions will be for the Crystal Palace game? Get your comments in below. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, follow us on all the social media platforms, go to the supporters club, help them out, go and have a good fun day out if you're going to the West Ham game. It's great. Stell's put a video up recently of the banter that happens beforehand and everyone is watching them. We've got a really cool, not an auction, it's a £5 bid that goes towards charity for Isla Caton. You'll get potentially fully signed current squad home top with a certificate of this. Still, say it for me. My words have gone.
A certificate of authentication.
Yes.
I think the word you're looking for.
We'll have another competition coming up for subscribers of YouTube, so just keep your eyes on our pages. Anyway, he's been Stel, I've been Anton, and I can't speak. We're Irons United. Come on, your outs.